Okay, so part three. Sorry, we had a little interruption with one of my kids. So yeah, um, back to Hayden. Um, we established a 504 plan. And in that plan, I came up with some strategies and some accommodations. Now, he was not a part of that meeting. And hindsight, I think he probably should have been. Um, I was really taking cues from the teacher, and I probably should not have put all of my eggs in one basket. So we did a 504 plan that got us through Christmas and past, and he still was just not improving. And he had developed a more severe um, case of anxiety, and he started to not like school. He did not do well on his assessments at the middle of the year, and his emotions were so overwhelmed by the anxiety. He was getting physically sick in the morning, um, just from the stress of going to school. And he started losing motivation. He didn't want to complete assignments. He basically gave up and wasn't willing to put forth any effort at all. Um, and so I went back to the teacher and I said, listen, this isn't working. I'm watching my son, you know, spiral. I mean, he's a sinking ship, and he's not progressing in your classroom. He is not doing well. And I got a little snippy, but I told her, the only common denominator is you. And I have done everything to try and make my son successful, and it has never been a problem before. And so this was serious. And she was not receptive. And so I took my son out of school, and I homeschooled him for about a month and a half. And we did a lot of different things that he wasn't learning at school. But I got a phone call from the principal, and she said, we really miss Hayden. Because my girls were still in school. And she said, we really miss him, and we really want him to come back. And I said, you know what? That's up to him, because I'm not going to put him in an atmosphere that is negative and that is breaking him down and making him really dislike school. And so I said, I'll ask him, I'll see what he says. And I asked my son, I said, do you want to go back to school? And he says, I don't know, because I don't want to be in that class, because she is, she makes him feel bad. And I said, are you willing to have a meeting and kind of sit down and tell your teacher how you feel? And he said, yeah, I'll do that. And so we had a meeting, and that meeting had the principal, it had the lead teacher, a student advocate, myself, Hayden, and the teacher. And we sat down, we kind of discussed what's going on at home, kind of bringing everybody up to speed with what's going on. And Hayden was given an opportunity to tell his teacher how he felt and why he didn't want to come to school. And I was very, very proud of him, because he was able to articulate to an adult how he was feeling and how specifically she was making him feel, and what she did that made him feel stupid. And so he looked at her straight in the eyes, and he said, you make me feel this way. You ignore my hand when it's raised. You get mad at me because I ask questions about the instructions that you just gave, and you tell me that I need to listen, and that you don't have time for questions that I should already know the answers to. And Hayden has dysgraphia, and it's pretty bad. But he would turn in an assignment that he worked hard on, and she would make him completely redo it, because she couldn't read his handwriting. Now, I understand we need kids to learn to be neat in their work, to keep it organized. But this is a child that it doesn't matter how much he practices, his handwriting is going to be bad. And he just was broken down over and over again. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And he told her all of this. And he said, you make me feel bad about myself. And I don't want to be treated that way. And so he was very vocal about how she impacted him and his self-efficacy, and how he felt, about what he could do. And his motivation plummeted, and he saw it. He's a really special kid that is able to vocalize his feelings, and to kind of work through things on his own. He's very self-aware, which has been a blessing with him dealing with his grief, with his dad. But he was able to articulate those problems. And so basically after we kind of got an idea of how he was feeling, we all sat there, including Hayden, and we laid out a plan. Like, okay, what are we going to do to make this better? How can we make this better? And we asked Hayden, and he had ideas. Sometimes he needed a little help, like he couldn't really develop those strategies himself, but when prompted and asked and encouraged, he could say, yeah, that would work, or yeah, I think that would work. No, I don't think that would work, that kind of thing. And it's really important to get that feedback from the student, because you may implement a strategy or an accommodation that produces the desired result, but if it is not okay with that student, if it doesn't boost their confidence and everything else, it's not about you getting the desired result. It's about them feeling confident in their abilities. And I mean, let's say one of your strategies is to have the student have little note cards. And when, they have a problem or whatever, they just kind of flash the note card to let the teacher know, okay, I'm struggling here. Well, other kids catch on to that kind of stuff. They are very observant. And when a child is specifically sensitive to being different, especially my child, because he already feels different for not having a dad, and then also because he is a child with ADHD, and he doesn't want to feel different. So that might be a great strategy for somebody, but not for him. So it would be pointless to implement a strategy like that unless he is comfortable with it and everything else. Because yeah, he could do that, but what's the end result going to be? That he feels different, that his self-esteem decreases. So the whole point of that is just, you need to make sure that the strategies and the tools that you implement and accommodations, that they are something that the child is going to respond positively to, not just the desired result. So that's really important. So yeah, we just had a bad experience with this teacher because she had a preconceived idea of who Hayden was, according to his diagnosis, and not who he is. Because my Hayden is a people pleaser, and he has a huge heart. He wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he is very sensitive to other kids that have disabilities, and he will not hesitate to stand up and fight for somebody that is for injustice. And he has multiple times stood up for several of the other kids that are struggling with disabilities. And so it just was not a good mix, because with those preconceived ideas, she saw him in a way that he wasn't. And she treated him in a way that broke down his spirit. And as teachers, that's not what we do. We want to build up. We want to inspire. We want to find that one solution that encourages that kid to do well and to want to do well. If we implement different things just, to implement them, then it doesn't make a difference. And so leading into, my advice for if you're my kid's teacher next year, and how can you help my child transition into adulthood, and let's see, interactions, and the last 9 through 12. Okay, we're going to attack that all at once. Students with ADHD are not any different than your other students. The only difference really is that not that they can't learn, but that they learn in a different way. And that's the same with learning disabilities, okay? And not that they can't learn, but they hit these roadblocks that other kids, don't really have to deal with. And just like normal life as adults, some of us, we breeze through life. We got money in savings, we got straight A's in college, life's a breeze, right? We did everything the right way. This is my brother. My brother breezed through college, got his master's degree right away, got married, had his 2.5 kids and a dog, and built a house. And then you take a look at me, and I have ADHD, and my life has been a lot more different. And I have hit a lot more roadblocks than he ever had to. So it's not the level of intellect. It's just they learn differently and they hit more roadblocks than other kids. And the most important thing is to take the time to know your student. Take the time, read their IEP or their 504 when they come into your class, if they already have one, and get the background story. Figure out who they are as a person so that you can better approach their learning needs. Because if you don't know the kid and where they're coming from and who they are as a person, it's going to be impossible to figure out how to help. Another thing that's really important, ask the student, how can I help you? How can I make this better? Okay, and a lot of times they will know and they will verbalize it, because if it's prompted out of them, then, oh, well, and then they think about it, and then they're able to sometimes articulate, exactly what they need. But work with the student, figure out what's going to make it better for them. Hey, I noticed that you can't, that you're having trouble, sitting still and completing some stuff. So what can we do? And then give them some options that are, appropriate for class. Not like, I don't know, something crazy that they would say, let's have a dance party because I can't sit still. But, implement kind of thing like they make balls that you can sit on and those kids can, kind of bounce up and down while they're working, or the rubber bands on the bottom of the chairs, and just say, hey, would this make it better? Do you think you want to try this? Or maybe do you need to get up and walk and get some water and kind of take some breaks? If they're not giving you the ideas, then you can kind of guide them in the right direction, and they're going to let you know, no, I don't really care about that, or that doesn't really matter. And they're going to help you find those strategies and those ways. So yeah, if you were my kid's teacher next year, I'd say good luck. No, I'm just kidding. I would say, don't look at my kid like he is any differently. Don't look at him any differently than any other child in your classroom. Approach him differently. Approach his learning differently. But as a human being, he still, laughs, he cries, he's gets afraid, he has stress, things affect him too, just like it does everybody else. And earlier I asked him if I could give advice, or if he could give advice to a teacher as far as what to do when you have a student that has ADHD. He very clearly said, give them more time. And I thought that was so cool, because that was one of the things in the text that discussed, that they need more time. And so he said that, and he was referring back to last year when he was really struggling. He said, I couldn't finish my exam in time. I was too worried about the time. And he is very stubborn as far as with his 504. He doesn't use it. He does have that accommodation for extra time and breaking tests up if he needs it. He uses his 504 as kind of like a backup plan, so that they are there, it is official, and if he needs them, he can have them, instead of, I can't do this is against the rule, he's got it if he needs it. But he chooses not to do that. He wants to do it on his own. But with the time thing, when he was struggling and didn't have a lot of, self-confidence in his academics, he said, time, don't rush the student. Don't put a time frame on them getting, if they're fiddle farting around, then that's different. But, let them progress and finish that work in their time. Because, some of us, we can change our brakes on the car, but some of us, it takes, a couple hours, some of us, a couple days. So everybody, we do things at different time frames. I think that really covers everything. If you have any questions, or sorry, that is actually a strategy that I use with my kids at home. I set alarms so that we stick to a certain schedule, and it helps with structure. But if you have any questions or need to reach out, my email address is klswanger, which is spelled SWANGER, @liberty.edu. And you can send me questions or comments or whatever. That's fine. And I hope that this interview helps. I hope that I answered all the questions, so that you can write a good paper and get an A. So I hope everyone does well, and good luck.